the Impetuous, the Impatient, and the Wise. 3 men walked in a dark forest, running away from their village, which was being attacked by terrible monsters sent by the king, the worst king they had ever had. These men had seen their families be killed in terrible manners, without being able to help them in any way. However, no one really understood what the king's subordinates were after with other villagers. They fought bravely to defend their family and friends. But even though they helped saving several people and destroyed the monsters that first attacked the village, everyone who survived had to make the hard choice to flee, as more monsters were already on their way there. People formed groups of their journey, given that they agreed it would facilitate the blend in the new places they arrived. The 3 brave friends decided to travel together. But our story begins a little after that. There were several days the 3 men walked through the dark forest. When they arrived in a city they didn't know existed. In the streets, people seemed like in a trance, walking like they were not sure where to go. The men tried to talk to a few people. "Hey, please, could you inform us where we are? How is this city called?" They would ask some passers-by that would give answers like, "The door to the dream world," or "the land of bad wishes." One of the passers-by completed, "Be careful what you wish for." Around the men, the building stood imposingly with weird forms and light colors, such as blue, pink, and yellow. The tallest one was green, had 3 floors, huge glass windows, and a word above the front door informations. The oldest man was the first to see the signal. Joiner, "Zenta, look at this. I think here is where we're supposed to ask for information. Interesting. I have never seen nothing like this. What about you, Vigard?" said Zenta, a small man with curly black hair and deep blue eyes, as they were an ocean of emotions. "No, me neither. Let's go in," replied Vigard, his brown eyes shining subtly. He was taller than both Joiner and Zenta, but age weighed his shoulder down, making him walk hunched over. "Don't you think it's better if we just found a way out of this city? Everyone here seems like wanderers that don't know where they're going. It looks like a spell," intervened Joiner, speaking calmly as usual, his head up while he observed the building in front of him, his blonde, short, and oily hair glowing in the shy sunlight coming from the cloud sky. "I don't see a simple way to go through this city, Joiner. It will certainly be faster to ask for direction. Anyway, we can't walk forever. We should stop for a while, get some jobs to be able to buy more food. I know you won't leave the kingdom, but our food is almost over," said Zena firmly, while opening the door to enter the green building. Acknowledging that there was some true in their friend's words, Joiner and Vigard followed Zena inside, through a spiral staircase, the only thing they found on the first floor. I'm sure this building had only 3 floors. Why is it taking so long? Zena sat on a step, breathing heavily after too many minutes. I agree. We could have passed 20 floors in the time we are going up these stairs. I confess I'm a little dizzy, said Vigard, joining Zena on the stair step. This is too weird. This city is weird. This building is weirder. All of this looked like something impossible. Joiner thought aloud. Impossible, or maybe magic, like in the tales our parents would tell us when we were little. Considered Zenta. Don't be ridiculous. Zena, there is no such thing as magic. Those stories were only tales made up to scare kids. Mocked Vigard, showing his few yellow teeth. I don't know what this is, but I'm sure it's not normal. We should go back and try to find our way for ourselves. Joiner said, giving a few steps down. Nevertheless, no matter how many steps he took down, he ended up that many steps up. Okay, I agree this is not normal at all. How can someone move down and go up? Questioned Zenta, getting up and try to go down the stairs. However, as Joiner, he always ended up moving up. Unbelievable. I guess our only choice is keeping going up. Vigard could breathe normally again. Let's continue then. He completed, getting up. I just hope whatever we find up there will be helpful and not our downfall. Joiner waited his friends join him before continuing. The three went up for what seemed an eternity to them, stopping whenever Vigard needed. In fact, for hours passed before they got to an enormous golden door with too many symbols on its frame. A sign was hanging on the left side of the door and read, "To those who this path found, information and a wish will be provided." Only a righteous choice will allow you to leave the land of dreams. What in the world is land of dreams? Zena was the first to ask. The right side of the door opened before anyone could say more. From inside came a strong green light and a lot of smoke. The smell was different for each man. Zena smelled his favorite dish, fish seasoned with lemon, and something else, a scent that reminded him of his mother. Vigord, in other hand, smelled the ocean as if he was in a boat in a sunny day, while Bjorner smelled the rain, a rain falling in the middle of a sunny day in a forest near to a lake, forming a rainbow not too far away, and he could see the scene in his mind as he closed his eyes for a moment. "Can you smell this?" asked Vigord. Both Bjorner and Zenta nodded, astonishment in their eyes. "We better go inside, since we have no other way to go," completed Vigord, and the three men walked forward. Each man saw a different person inside, each one using a white tunic, covered by symbols like those in the door's frame outside at chest high, a green belt carefully tied around it. Those people were sitting in the same position, behind a golden store counter, filled with more symbols, and seemed to be writing something in an old book on top of the counter. The three men looked around. It took them some time to notice their friends were nowhere to be seen. Each man entered alone exactly similar rooms by going through the same door. Zena was seeing a woman with tan skin, brown hair tied up in a bun. He wouldn't recognize her, but anyone who had known his mother as a young woman would agree they were alike. She got up and presented herself. "Hello, visitor. My name is Bakken, and I am the ruler of the land of dreams." Closing his mouth, Zena shook himself before answering, "What? How? What is this place?" "As I already said, you are in the land of dreams, Zenta." Bodkin looked him in the eyes and waited for the questions she knew were going to be made. "How do you know my name? And what do you mean by ruler? Where are my friends?" Zena asked all in one breath. He was going to ask a lot more questions in the sequence if Bodkin had not interrupted him. "You should wait for the answer before asking more questions. Esteemed client, you can appease yourself, for I will explain everything you need to know about our transaction." "Client." Zena started to formulate a question, but Bodkin cut him quickly. "Do not interrupt me before I say I am finished with the first instructions." The ruler said a little too firmly, before forcing a smile. "Every person capable of entering the land of dreams has done something in life that granted them the precious gift of asking for something. You can see that this endless room is full of, well, nothingness, but not for longer. You will be given one wish that can fill this room with your biggest dream, your deepest desire." As reading Zena's mind, Bodkin completed, "And do not worry about your friends. They are in a similar position to yours. In another room, of course. Now, as I was saying, you can choose anything, but there are rules. You can take the time you think is necessary to decide. Everything you need to know is in this book. As a ruler, I am the one responsible for giving you what you wish for. Finally, you can ask me questions, although I cannot guarantee I'll be giving you an answer to each one of them." Zena walked over the counter next to Bodkin and looked to the book she pointed to. In the cover was his name marked as client. It was an old and thick book. Inside, the texts were written in small-sized letters in black ink. The man read in the first page something about being possible to wish for pretty much everything. He stopped and looked at Bodkin. "Do I need to read it all?" "No, you don't, although you need to sign it at the end." Bodkin replied shortly, "I already know exactly what the deepest desire of my heart is. I'm sure you will tell me if you cannot grant it to me." Zenda turned the pages of the book until he found where he should sign. The ruler had already placed an ink bottle and a quill in front of the man. Bodkin had maintained an impassive face until then. But anyone watching the scene would agree that disappointment crossed her face in that moment. Zena's mother always said he was an impetuous boy, always too sure what he wants. Never worry about how he would get it. He just acted. This did not change much as he turned a grown man. Closing the book, Zena turned to the ruler and said, "My wish is to be back to my village as a rich man with my mother, my wife, my friends, all of them alive and well, so we can live a safe and long, happy life." Bodkin disappeared as the room began to be filled with houses, mountains, and people. A few moments later, Zena saw himself in front of a big house. His mother could be seen to the window, while his wife slowly opened the front door. Vigord, Vigard saw a tall man, dark hair to the shoulder. He would not remember at that moment, but that man was exactly like a noble man he once met as a boy. "Hello, visitor. My name is Bodkin, and I am the ruler of the land of dreams." Bodkin's presentation proceeded with no interruption. When the ruler mentioned the book, Vigard got closer and inspected it with caution. Speaking for the first time, he pointed out, "You said I can take as much time as I need to decide, right?" Bodkin nodded, hope in his eyes. Vigard took the book, sat on the floor, and began to read. The book was composed of stories about how the ruler had fulfilled the most diverse requests. After reading 3 stories, he decided they followed the same pattern and began to leaf through the book. Endless stories. But without farther consideration, he concluded he understood the moral they intended to pass. Whatever is not possible in the real world can be given to you by the ruler in the land of dreams. Nonetheless, he saw some indications in the text that wishing for something that harmed others could turn against the person who made the wish. For that reason, Vigard took some more minutes to think about the best way to formulate his wish. He would not read any more of the book. His old age had not made him free of all his flaws. He still was an impatient man. "I have made a decision, Mr. Ruler." Bodkin brought the quill and the bottle of ink to the counter. "If you are sure, please sign at the end of the book first." Vigard placed the book next to the bottle of ink and looked for the spot he should sign on the last pages. Done. Vigard turned to Bodkin, who nodded. "Now, I wish to be on a boat with my friends Zena and Jorner in an ocean with good fish and where there are no storms, because I want to be a fisherman." The room began to be filled with a lot of water and sunlight. Soon, Vigard was on a big fishing boat looking at a beautiful view. The sun on the blue sky, the calm waters and green mountains afar. Zenta and Jorner were standing behind him. Jorner looked around the enormous room with nothing but a counter, behind which there was an old tall woman with gray hair and big glasses. She could be an older version of a teacher Jorner really liked as a kid. He hurried to get closer to the woman, while asking where my friends. The tall woman gave him a disapproval glance, as if he had spoken loudly in a library, but answered calmly, "Don't worry, your friends are as well as yourself. Now let me introduce myself. My name is Bodkin, and I am the ruler of the land of dreams." "I'm sorry if I was rude. My name is Jorner." "What do you mean by ruler?" Jorner was calmer now, inspecting everything he was seeing with attentive eyes. "I will present your current situation. Nonetheless, I cannot guarantee that I will answer all your questions," replied Bodkin with serious expression, proceeding with the usual presentation. When the woman finished, Jorner was already looking closely at the book. "I will take a long time to read all this. Are you going to wait?" "Yes, take the time you need. I will be in this room with you," replied Bodkin with a warmer expression this time. Jorner began to read carefully every word in the book. He was not only reading, he was analyzing it. Sometimes he would make questions or point out something to Bodkin, who walked in circles in the empty room. "The words client and transaction imply that I need to give you something as payment for my wish." Sometimes Bodkin nodded, but other times, like this one, she would pretend not to hear him. The time passed differently there. Jorner was never hungry nor felt the need to sleep. He just read and read. When he needed to meditate about something, he would walk around the room and try to make conversation with Bodkin. Jorner couldn't tell this, but 3 years had passed when he finally got to the last page of the book. "And I guess I need to accept the terms and sign here. But first, I will make some appointments aloud to myself. I hope not to disturb you. Bodkin, if you can, please correct me in case I am wrong. Some points are especially important in the terms illustrated in the book through what I imagine are stories based on your former clients. As I understand, an extensive list of wishes can only be fulfilled in the land of dreams what, as the name suggests, means it can only happen in the client's dreams, such as trying to resurrect the dead, or even trying to overpass the free will of other people. In such cases, I am sure the price to be paid is being held hosted by the land of dreams. I suppose that's why the people on the streets walk as if they were in a trance or under the effect of a spell. All the while, Bodkin listened attentively, apprehension in her eyes. Based on what I have read, I can imagine a few wishes that could be realized outside the land of dreams. However, the price paid for those are not clear, since every story on the book are about wishes granted in the land of dreams. He looked at Bodkin, asking for confirmation. I can only say you are right. There are no precedent, said Bodkin reluctantly. Also, nothing in the book says I cannot refuse to sign the book and walk out of here. Nevertheless, no one seems to have done that either. Yes, you can choose to leave. Agreed Bodkin. That would be a waste, though. Now, only one of the stories mentions this, but from what I understand, you are here as the result of a wish as well. The first wish, this was your price. Could you tell me who really command or maintain the land of dreams? Joyner looked at Bodkin for a few moments before she answered him. You are right, I have a superior. However, I cannot say who it is or confirm that I am the protagonist of the story you cited. Bodkin was looking to the floor in a thoughtful manner. Okay, that is enough for me. Since I don't want to walk away, I know exactly what I should wish for. The only thing I can wish for and still walk out of the land of dreams without paying a price. The quill and the bottle of ink appeared in Bodkin's hands, who placed them on the counter next to the book. Joyner signed the book and turned to Bodkin. I wish to free every single person from their contract with the land of dreams. Everything around Joyner began to disappear. Thank you, Joyner. The land of dreams was created as a test of valorous people and as a punishment for me. Only a person patient enough to read the whole book, wise enough to understand it, and altruistic enough to let go of his own dreams would have made the wish you just did. Bodkin was also disappearing before Joyner's eyes. She looked different now. She had turned into a younger woman, brown eyes and waist-length curly brown hair, her skin glowing as gold as she vanishes. The end of the land of dreams. A few minutes later, Joyner was standing on the street outside the green building. However, the building was not green anymore. It was as normal as any house made of unpainted wood, only one floor. The whole city was a little too normal now. Everyone around looked confused, as if waking up from a long nap. Zenta and Vigor were running in his direction. Joyner, we had the weirdest dream, cried Zenta. Oh, I am sure it felt like one. Let's go. We need to continue our journey, answered Joyner, putting his arms on his friend's shoulders. Joyner was the only person to know the whole truth about the land of dreams, although he told his friends and future family what had happened in his own room of wishes. He never told them everything he had learned on the big book.